They found me!
I was working as a federal investigator named Thomas Harper, spent 15 years specializing in organized crime. My wife Catherine and I had this quiet suburban life in a town called Millfield, the kind of place where nothing ever happens, you know? White picket fences, neighborhood barbecues, the whole 9 yards. For months, I'd been analyzing these pill seizures across 3 different states. At first glance, they seemed completely random, unconnected busts by different agencies at different times. But when I started mapping them geographically, something bizarre emerged. They formed this perfect circular pattern, and the center of that circle was Millfield, my hometown. That's when every alarm bell in my head started going off, because that kind of pattern doesn't happen by accident. I kept finding this one name buried in financial records. William Drake, local businessman, real pillar of the community type guy. Owned a trucking logistics company, 2 upscale restaurants downtown, and a small private airport outside town. On paper, everything looked completely legitimate. Annual charity galas, Chamber of Commerce awards, donations to local schools. But something felt profoundly wrong. His meteoric financial success was too convenient, too perfectly timed with the pill activity I was tracking. One Tuesday evening, I'm deep into my home office studying satellite imagery of warehouse districts when Catherine appears in the doorway. Her auburn hair is catching the lamplight, and she's got that worried expression she gets when I work too late. She's concerned about me, suggests we take a break and order dinner. I'm barely listening, just nodding absently while studying these shell company connections that keep leading back to Drake. She mentions pizzas on the way and disappears back to the kitchen. About 20 minutes later, the doorbell rings. Through the front window, I see this beat-up delivery sedan and a skinny teenager clutching a pizza box like his life depends on it. The kid can't be older than 17, keeps glancing nervously over his shoulder every few seconds, and his hands are visibly shaking. My investigator instincts immediately kick into high gear. Something is very wrong with this picture. I open the door, and this teenager with sandy hair and a name tag reading Jason looks absolutely petrified. Sweat's literally pouring down his face despite the cool evening air. His voice cracks when he says, "Pizza for Harper," and I reach for my wallet to pay him. That's when he leans forward and whispers so quietly I almost miss it. "Sir, they made me put something in your food. There's a black van parked across the street watching us right now. They've abducted my sister. They said if I warned you, they'd eliminate her, but I can't just let you die. I can't." A green laser dot suddenly appears on Jason's forehead, and his words die in his throat. Everything happens simultaneously in a fraction of a second. My training takes over completely, and I'm not even thinking consciously anymore. I grab Jason's shirt and physically yank him through the doorway as a suppressed rifle shot splinters the wooden doorframe exactly where his head had been 1 second ago. Another bullet immediately shatters our front window, glass exploding inward across the living room floor. Catherine screams from somewhere in the kitchen. I'm shouting for her to get to the basement immediately while pushing Jason down to the floor. My service weapon is secured in the hall closet safe, and I'm moving on pure muscle memory. Years of field training completely overriding conscious thought. Another shot punches through the living room wall, sending drywall dust everywhere. Jason's curled in a ball by the stairs, absolutely hyperventilating and apologizing over and over. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to do it, but they have Sarah. They have my little sister." The kid's voice is breaking completely, and tears are streaming down his face. Turns out he's basically been raising his 12-year-old sister alone, ever since their parents died in a car accident 2 years ago. He's been working every shift he can get to pay for her medical treatments. I'm checking my Glocks magazine with practiced efficiency, asking who has his sister, talk fast kid. "Mr. Drake, William Drake. He owns the pizza place where I work, came in 3 days ago with these scary guys in expensive suits, showed me pictures on his phone of Sarah tied to a chair in some basement, said it was insurance, said if I didn't deliver this exact pizza to you exactly how they prepared it." Jason can't even finish the sentence. My blood goes absolutely cold. William Drake. The exact same person I've been investigating for months. This isn't coincidence. This is a direct targeted hit against a federal investigator. Before I can even process this information further, my phone starts ringing. Unknown number. I answer cautiously and hear this smooth, cultured voice with just a hint of underlying menace. "Mr. Harper? I believe you've been making some rather inconvenient inquiries about my business operations, very troublesome inquiries, I'm afraid." I say his name, William Drake, I presume. "Indeed, you're considerably more perceptive than I initially gave you credit for. which unfortunately has created some significant complications for both of us. Drake's tone is conversational and almost friendly, like we're old acquaintances discussing the weather over drinks. The pizza you're currently holding in your home contains a carefully measured lethal dose of ricin toxin. Quite effective, I'm told. Passing occurs within several hours and appears completely natural to medical examiners. Tragic food poisoning case? Very sad. Happens more often than people realize. I look at the sealed pizza box sitting on my entry table, understanding the full horrifying picture now. I ask what exactly he wants from me. Quite simple, really. Cease your investigation into my operations immediately. Destroy whatever evidence you've compiled thus far, and submit a report to your superiors attributing the pill seizures to a disbanded cartel operation. Do this, and perhaps you and your lovely wife will celebrate your anniversary next month. Refuse, and, well, your wife's morning jogging route is remarkably predictable, as is her grocery shopping schedule on Thursdays, her pottery class on Wednesday evenings, her volunteer work at the literacy center. Accidents happen so frequently these days, don't they? The line goes dead, leaving me staring at my phone. I've dealt with cartel leaders, mob bosses, corrupt politicians, violent criminals of every variety, but directly threatening Catherine crosses a line that ignites something absolutely primal in me. I call down to the basement, telling her to stay put until I give the all clear. Then I turn to Jason, who's still shaking on the floor. Tell me absolutely everything you know about Drake's operation. Every single detail, no matter how small or insignificant you think it might be. The kid's terrified, but he starts talking, words tumbling out rapidly. He's worked at Drake's Pizza Express for 6 months, saving every dollar for Sarah's medical treatments. The job seemed like an absolute blessing until 2 weeks ago, when he accidentally witnessed something in the walk-in freezer. Drake and several men in expensive suits were having this intense discussion about shipments, kept mentioning Route 47 and the old airport outside town, saying things like, "The judge is completely handled," and "the pipeline stays open through winter." Jason's description of one particular man matches Judge Robert Hamilton, who'd recently dismissed several major pill cases on questionable technical grounds. My phone suddenly buzzes with a text from my bureau partner. Found something massive on Drake. Encrypted communications files suggest he's not just moving substances, one. Evidence points to human trafficking pipeline operating through his trucking company. Minors, primarily. This is bigger than we thought. Everything clicks together with sickening clarity. Drake's not running some simple pill operation. He's orchestrated a comprehensive criminal enterprise using completely legitimate businesses as perfect cover. The airport handles incoming pills from suppliers. The trucking company transports everything, including human cargo. The restaurants launder the proceeds, and corrupted officials ensure legal problems simply vanish. Judge Hamilton makes cases disappear, and this goes way deeper than I initially imagined. I tell Jason I need him to describe Drake's compound, security details, anything he remembers about the operation. The kid's eyes widen in realization. You're actually going after him. But he'll eliminate Sarah. I give him what probably looks like a carnivory smile. No, he won't, because I'm going to systematically dismantle his entire network before he even knows what's happening. But first, we need to get you and your sister somewhere completely safe. Catherine emerges from the basement, her face pale, but her expression absolutely determined. What can I do to help? I tell her to call her brother, Detective Ryan Sullivan, with the state police. Say we need a safe house immediately, and I'm calling in every favor he owes me. Then contact Agent Michelle Torres at the Bureau. She's clean, and I trust her completely with my life. While Catherine makes urgent calls, I study the pizza box that would have been my capital punishment. Drake's specific choice of poison over a simple direct shooting reveals important psychological patterns about the man. He clearly prefers elaborate indirect schemes to direct confrontation. That psychological profile will be tactically useful. Jason speaks quietly. Mr. Harper, there's something else important. I overheard them talking about some big shipment coming in tomorrow night. Something about fresh merchandise and a buyer coming up from New Orleans. They seemed really excited about the money involved. Fresh merchandise in trafficking terminology means new sufferers, probably children exactly like Sarah. I spend that entire night at Ryan's isolated cabin 20 miles outside town, meticulously planning the attack while Jason and Sarah sleep in the back bedroom. Ryan managed to extract Sarah during a welfare check, citing anonymous concerns about child endangerment. the girls severely traumatized but physically unharmed. Jason's relief when he saw his sister was absolutely overwhelming to witness. Agent Michelle Torres arrives at dawn with thick files and an extremely grim expression. Thomas, this Drake case just became federal priority one overnight. We intercepted communications indicating he's moving 19 minors through his operation this week. The New Orleans buyer is Christopher Mason, same person we've been hunting unsuccessfully for 3 years. I study surveillance photos spread across the kitchen table. Drake's compound has serious security, but nothing truly impenetrable. More importantly, his personal schedule is remarkably predictable. Every Tuesday morning, without fail, he personally inspects his logistics depot before heading to the airport. Ryan asks what the tactical plan is. I explain that Drake currently thinks I'm dead or dying from ricin poisoning, which provides a significant tactical advantage. He won't be expecting any kind of counterattack, and his security will be focused on normal external threats, not a coordinated federal operation. Michelle leans forward intently. The children are being held in a warehouse on Drake's property. Our thermal imaging shows approximately 19 heat signatures in that specific building. We need to go in hard and fast, but we absolutely need Drake alive for intelligence on his broader network. I agree, though my tone clearly suggests keeping him breathing is purely professional necessity rather than any kind of moral preference. But first, we need to understand exactly how deep this corruption extends throughout local government. I pull up financial records on my laptop showing Judge Hamilton received payments through 4 different shell companies, all eventually traced back to Drake. Sheriff Michael Bennett has been depositing cash in amounts carefully kept just below federal reporting thresholds. Mayor Elizabeth Crawford signed permits for Drake's expansion projects without any normal review processes whatsoever. Jesus Christ, Ryan mutters. He basically owns half the town. Which means we absolutely cannot trust local law enforcement beyond Ryan himself. This has to be a precision surgical strike using only federal resources and people we trust with absolute certainty. Jason appears in the doorway looking considerably older than 17. I want to help somehow. I refuse immediately, but Jason persists earnestly. Mr. Harper, I know the layout of his buildings intimately. I've made deliveries to the depot, the airport, his personal residence dozens of times, and he won't suspect me at all. I'm supposed to be completely terrified of him. Michelle studies the teenager thoughtfully. He makes a genuinely valid point. An inside asset could be absolutely invaluable for this operation. My protective instincts war violently with tactical necessity. Jason's already demonstrated remarkable courage under extreme pressure, and his operational knowledge is incredibly detailed. But involving a civilian, especially a kid, violates every principle I've held throughout my career. If we do this, I say slowly and carefully, you follow orders exactly without deviation. Absolutely no heroics whatsoever. Your role is intelligence gathering exclusively, nothing more. Jason nods eagerly, promising he won't let me down. As we finalize tactical plans, my phone rings. Drake again. Mr. Harper, I trust you've had sufficient time to carefully consider my offer. I lie smoothly, saying I need more time, 24 hours to compile all files and create a convincing report that'll satisfy my superiors. Time is a luxury I rarely extend to anyone, but you've earned quite a reputation for thoroughness. Very well, 24 hours exactly, or your wife becomes a tragic hit-and-run statistic on the evening news. The line goes dead, and I smile grimly. Drake's overwhelming arrogance will absolutely be his downfall. The attack on Drake's compound begins precisely at sunset, when changing light conditions will seriously confuse guard vision. I lead the federal tactical team through the eastern perimeter, while Ryan's state police backup secures all access roads. We have one critical advantage Drake can't possibly anticipate: detailed intelligence from Jason's reconnaissance mission. Jason walks through the logistics depot exactly like he's done dozens of times before, carrying a delivery receipt for Drake's signature. But this time, he's wearing a concealed wire and GPS tracker, his route carefully planned to systematically map all security positions. 12 guards total, Jason whispers into the concealed microphone, describing their precise locations and patrol patterns. My voice crackles in his earpiece, telling him excellent work. Now exit the facility immediately. But as Jason heads toward the exit, he suddenly hears something that makes his blood freeze completely. A child crying. The heartbreaking sound comes from the warehouse where Drake holds his trafficking sufferers. Mr. Harper, Jason whispers urgently. I can hear children crying in the warehouse. One of them sounds really young. like Sarah's age exactly. Through high-powered binoculars from a ridge overlooking the compound, I see Jason hesitate near the warehouse door. I tell him firmly, stick to the plan, do not deviate under any circumstances. But Jason's 17 years old, he's raised his sister completely alone for 2 years, and the sound of children in terrible distress overrides all common sense and training. He slips toward the warehouse side entrance. Inside, he finds something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. 19 children ages 8 to 16 chained in metal cages like animals. Many show obvious signs of physical misuse. All are absolutely terrified, and several are clearly very sick. "Please help us," a girl about Sarah's age whispers desperately through the bars. Jason's hands shake violently as he speaks into the microphone. "Mr. Harper, you absolutely need to see this. These kids, they're in actual cages. They're injured and sick." My careful tactical plan evaporates instantly. Every instinct as a federal agent and decent human being screams that those children cannot wait for perfectly orchestrated tactical operations. "Michelle," I radio immediately. "We're going now. Full attack right now. I don't care about the plan anymore." The attack begins with the precision that comes from 15 years of experience. I move like a ghost through the depot's loading area, systematically neutralizing guards with strikes leaving them unconscious but alive. Inside the warehouse, Jason's desperately trying to comfort the captive children when heavy footsteps approach rapidly. He ducks behind a support beam as William Drake himself enters with 2 heavily armed men. "Check all the locks," Drake orders coldly. "I want these packages ready for immediate transport in 30 minutes. Packages. The absolute monster calls them packages. Jason's hidden microphone transmits every single word directly to my team. Drake's clearly accelerating his timeline, probably spooked by my mysterious disappearance. The children will be moved tonight, and once they leave this compound, finding them becomes exponentially harder or impossible. I abandon all federal protocol and become something considerably more primal, a protector responding directly to evil. The first guard never sees me coming at all. I emerge from shadows, and a precise sleeper hold drops him silently to the concrete. The second guard manages to draw his weapon before my tactical knife finds the gap between neck and shoulder, severing nerves and dropping him instantly. Drake spins around as both his men collapse, his face shifting rapidly from confusion to recognition to genuine fear. "Thomas Harper," Drake says, voice remarkably steady despite the circumstances. "I thought you were dead by now." I reply, "Not yet, but his entire operation definitely is finished." "You don't understand what you're actually interfering with here," Drake says with hands raised. "I provide essential services to extremely powerful people. Eliminate me, and you'll have enemies beyond your imagination." My smile is cold as winter. "You threatened my wife. You poisoned my dinner. You hurt innocent children." I step closer, weapon never wavering. "I've spent 15 years studying monsters exactly like you, William, and there's one thing I've learned consistently. Monsters always seriously underestimate the people hunting them." Federal agents swarm the warehouse as I speak, immediately freeing children and providing urgent medical attention. Jason emerges from hiding with tears streaming down his face as he helps the young girl who reminded him so much of Sarah. "William Drake," I say formally, producing handcuffs, "you're under arrest for human trafficking, conspiracy, homicide, attempted homicide, and approximately 40 other charges that'll keep you locked away until the sun literally burns out." But as the cuffs click into place, Drake's expression shifts to something that makes my blood run cold. Smug satisfaction. "You actually think this is over?" Drake whispers. "You have absolutely no idea how deep this really goes. Judge Hamilton, Sheriff Bennett, Mayor Crawford, they're just the beginning. The real power behind my operation will have you and your wife dead within a week, guaranteed." Before I can respond, a sniper's bullet shatters the warehouse window and punches directly through Drake's skull, ending his threats permanently. In the distance, muzzle flash from the ridge confirms what I already know. Someone just professionally eliminated our primary intelligence source about the larger conspiracy. Within hours of Drake's execution, Judge Hamilton and Sheriff Bennett vanish completely along with files that might expose their handlers. Mayor Crawford holds an emergency press conference declaring Drake's operation a shocking revelation, promising full cooperation with federal investigators. A performance fooling absolutely no one who understands how deep corruption can run. I stand in the county morgue staring at Drake's body while Agent Michelle Torres briefs me on the aftermath. 19 children rescued and receiving comprehensive medical care, $4 million in pill money seized, 18 arrests among Drake's immediate organization. Should feel like complete victory, but the sniper's bullet robbed us of something considerably more valuable than simple justice. Actionable information. Ballistics confirms the shot came from over 800 yards away, Michelle reports grimly. Military-grade precision equipment. This wasn't panicked cleanup. It was professional elimination by someone with serious training. I studied crime scene photos on my tablet. Drake said the real power was bigger than local corruption. We're talking federal-level protection here. Before Michelle can answer, my phone rings. Unknown number again. But this time the voice is completely different, older and more refined, with an accent suggesting extremely expensive education. Mr. Harper, my name is Christopher Mason, and you've caused me considerable inconvenience. My jaw tightens painfully. Christopher Mason, the New Orleans buyer we'd been hunting unsuccessfully for 3 years. The man who was coming specifically to purchase Drake's sufferers. I ask where he is. Closer than you think. William was useful, but ultimately quite replaceable. His passing simplified certain complications, but your interference has created new ones. I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. You've rescued 19 children, which is admirable, but I can provide exact locations for 300 more across 5 states. My network is vast, Mr. Harper, and you've seen only a tiny fraction. I'll give you absolutely everything, names, locations, detailed financial records, in exchange for one simple concession. My hand grips the phone so tightly my knuckles turn white. What exactly does he want? Your passing, of course, and your wife's. Nothing personal whatsoever, simply business necessity. You've learned far too much about operations stretching into very high places. Die quietly and hundreds of children live. Refuse and they disappear into holes so deep you'll never find them. The line goes dead, leaving me staring at my phone with rage, threatening to completely consume rational thought. Jason appears beside me, no longer the terrified delivery boy, but someone considerably older, hardened by what he witnessed. Mr. Harper, the kids are asking about you. They want to thank the man who saved their lives. I look at Jason, 17 years old, raising his sister completely alone, brave enough to risk everything for strangers, and something crystallizes in my mind. Mason thinks fear will make me submit. He seriously underestimates what happens when a good man decides the system isn't enough. 3 days after Drake's end, Thomas Harper ceases to exist as a federal agent. My resignation is immediate and absolutely final, submitted with a brief note stating personal reasons requiring immediate family relocation. Agent Michelle Torres tries to argue, but my mind is completely made. The system has rules, procedures, extensive oversight, all things preventing me from doing what desperately needs to be done. Catherine understands without any explanation necessary. After our years together, she recognizes that specific look in my eyes. I've decided to step outside the law to protect something infinitely more important than my career. What do you need from me? She asks simply. I spend 48 hours following complex money trails leading from Millfield to New Orleans, Chicago, Atlanta, and beyond. Mason's operation is absolutely massive, sophisticated, and protected by people with serious political influence at every level. The children we rescued are just one tiny piece of a nightmare, stretching across the entire region. Catherine studies a photograph of Christopher Mason taken at an exclusive charity gala. Distinguished silver hair, expensive tailored suit, standing beside a governor and 2 senators. The man looks like he belongs at country clubs and political fundraisers, not someone who buys and sells children. My phone buzzes with text from an encrypted number. Warehouse District, Pier 31, New Orleans. Tonight, midnight, come alone or children die screaming. I smile grimly. Mason's making exactly the same mistake Drake made, assuming threats will paralyze rather than motivate. That evening, I drive toward New Orleans with equipment violating dozens of federal regulations. Body armor, night vision gear, weapons not standard bureau issue, electronic surveillance equipment borrowed from contacts, understanding that sometimes justice requires tools the government can't officially provide. At 11:47, I stand on Pier 31 watching Christopher Mason emerge from a black limousine, accompanied by 6 heavily armed men. The criminal is exactly as photographed. Distinguished, confident, radiating the arrogance of someone who's never faced consequences. Mr. Harper, Mason calls across the dock. Punctual, I admire that quality in a man. I step into light, hands visible but ready. Where are the children? Safe for now. The question is whether they remain so. Mason nods to his men who raise weapons. You've caused my organization considerable expense. William's passing, while convenient, required extensive restructuring. 19 rescued children represent significant lost revenue. I estimate you've cost me approximately $12 million. Good, I reply flatly. Mason laughs, a sound devoid of warmth or humanity. I like you, Harper. In another life, you might have worked for me. But business is business, and you've become a liability that must be eliminated. The first shot comes from an unexpected direction. Detective Ryan Sullivan firing from concealment among shipping containers. The bullet takes down Mason's lead gunman before criminals even realize they're surrounded. I move with practiced efficiency, drawing my weapon and putting 3 rounds center mass into the nearest threat. The gunfight lasts less than 30 seconds. When smoke clears, 5 of Mason's men are down and Christopher Mason is on his knees with my tool pressed against his temple. The children, I say quietly, all of them. Every location, every safe house, every handler. Talk now. Mason's arrogance cracks, revealing the coward beneath. You can't do this. I have protection at the highest levels. Senators, judges, people who will destroy your life if anything happens to me. My smile is winter cold. Those people just became my next targets. 6 months later, I sit in a congressional hearing room watching Senator Richard Patterson try to explain financial transfers, linking him to Christopher Mason's human trafficking network. The investigation that began with poisoned pizza has become the largest corruption scandal in decades. Mason's detailed records exposed a network of politicians, judges, and law enforcement officials who protected child trafficking operations for money. Judge Hamilton is serving 30 years. Sheriff Bennett committed self-destruction. Mayor Crawford is awaiting sentencing on 17 corruption charges. Mason himself provided exhaustive testimony in exchange for life in prison. Mr. Harper, Congressman Michael Reynolds addresses me from the panel. Your unofficial investigation methods have raised serious questions about due process. I lean forward calmly. Congressman, in 6 months, we've rescued 412 children from sexual slavery. We've arrested 87 traffickers. We've seized $43 million in criminal assets. If due process means leaving children in cages while we file paperwork, then yes, I violated it. The hearing room erupts in applause. Jason, now 18 and enrolled in college on a scholarship funded by seized assets, gives me a thumbs up. After the hearing, Agent Michelle Torres offers me reinstatement, promotion, choice of assignments. But I've received another message from someone named Jonathan Price, running an organization handling problems the government can't officially address. 5 years later, everything's changed. Jason's now 22 with a social work degree, speaking at anti-trafficking conferences. The protocols we established have rescued over 3,000 children. I work for Price's organization, operating where traditional law enforcement can't reach. Catherine used settlement money to establish the Sarah Collins Foundation supporting trafficking survivors. We've become unofficial guardians to dozens of sufferers. Jason's sister Sarah is 17 now, planning to study law and prosecute trafficking cases. My phone buzzes. Mr. Harper, my name is Jonathan Price. I run an organization that handles problems the government can't officially address. We could use someone with your particular skills. Interested? Catherine reads the message and smiles. New monsters to hunt? She asks. Apparently. She leans against my shoulder, content knowing that somewhere evil people are sleeping poorly, wondering if Thomas Harper might be coming for them next. They should be worried.